Today we're going to do another watercolour exercise for beginners, and I'm going to keep it very simple and just do a little silhouette against a sunset. So to begin with, I've already mixed up 3 colours. This one's actually 2 colours, it's Ultramarine and Paynes Grey. This one's Yellow Ochre and this one's Light Red. And a similar concentration of each. And I've just slopped on my paper there. Okay, so to set off with, we've already got the paper taped down. This is a watercolour paper. If you didn't see the video where I talked about the importance of taping your paper down, you can see the link to that here. So perhaps have a look at that before you do this little exercise. So to begin with, we've got a large flat brush and we're just going to wet the paper all over so that it's evenly damp all the way across the paper. And again, I have mentioned it in other videos, but in case you've missed it, one way to see if your paper is wet evenly is to tilt your head on one side and see where the light's shining on it. If there's any dull patches, that's where the paper is still dry. So it's not sopping wet, but nice and even with no dry patches. Okay, and then we can put that brush away now. And I'm going to move to a round brush. This is a size 12 and a Cotman one. So that comes to a really nice point at the end, nice brush to work with. And I'm going to begin at the top, and thinking about it being a night sky, I'm going to put some of this dark colour in. Just dropping it into the wet paper, making some random shapes. You see how the shape of this brush makes these lovely sort of cloudy shapes. And hold it quite loosely and let it move. And as we come further down the paper, I'm going to introduce some of the red. I'm not going to bother washing my brush because we're going to let these colours merge anyway. So take some of it up into the blue. Work quite quickly, don't allow your paper to dry out. And again, it doesn't matter if you leave a few white patches either, that's just going to add to the feeling of this sky. And then go down to the yellow and go right down to the bottom of your paper. And again, if you want to leave some white bits down there, you can, as if you see having those colours still left on the brushes, we've got the blues and the reds also in the bottom there, so it's looking quite like a sunset. I think I'm just going to put 1 or 2 more darks in here, and again strengthen the colour at the top, some extra darks. And then we're just going to leave that to completely dry. Don't be tempted to fiddle with it, don't be tempted to think I need to add some here, take some away there. Just leave it to dry, otherwise you're going to mess it up. Okay, so I'll be back with you soon once that's dried. Now before we continue, we need to know that that's absolutely dry. Don't go and put your fingers on it like this. We have grease on our fingers, although we can't see it, and that would make a mess of your painting if it was still wet. The best way to test to see if your painting is dry, again, look at it from an angle, see if it's shining anywhere, but even if it's dull, it could still be a little damp. So use the back of your hand and very gently lay the back of your hand on the painting like that to see if it feels damp. If it's still damp, it will feel cool. This feels a little cool in that corner, but we're not actually going to be painting up there. But here, it's nice and dry. Okay, so make sure it's dry before you start with this next bit. So whilst that's been drying, I've made up a nice dark colour using the Ultramarine, the Paynes Grey, and a little bit of burnt sienna. And I haven't got a reference photo for this little painting, it's just totally imaginary. Just a bit of fun really, and something that you can have a go at to get you going with your watercolours. So this brush here is it's called an angle shader. You can also get ones called daggers, which are a similar shape. Can you see how it's angled at the end there? Don't feel you need to use one of these. I quite like it, but you could use any brush. Just make sure that your brush is, if you're using a round one, has got a nice point on it. So it all comes to a nice point at the end. So any brush you like, but one a little bit smaller than the one you used before. And we're just going to invent some trees at the bottom here. So you can see the reason I like this brush is because you can make lots of different shapes with it. Again, can you see how loosely I'm holding this brush? I'm not worrying too much about this painting being tight or detailed. It's just a bit of fun. Making some shapes along the bottom. And it's not flowing too much, that paint, so I'm just adding a little bit of extra water to it, as you could see me doing there. I'm just going to vary the heights of some of these branches. Some might be grasses, some might be bushes, shrubs. And by putting different pressure on the brush, you can get different shapes, come to a nice taper at the end, or leave it much flatter. I'm going to get a bit more paint into that. Don't want to run out. So ultramarine, earth sienna, and some Paynes Grey. You see how that's a little bit darker, so we'll just pop some. So we've got some grey, some black. Although strictly speaking, it isn't black. I don't actually use black paint. That's entirely up to you whether you want to try using black paint straight from the shop, out of your palette, but I never do, really. Want it though, if you do want to use your black, I find it a little bit harsh, that's the reason I don't use it. If you do want to use your black, then add to it a little bit of blue. Just makes it a bit more interesting and less harsh. So completely imaginary, random shapes going all the way along, but leaving those colours to peep through. If you can, try not to do what I've done, mixing your paint up halfway through. Try and make plenty to begin with. It's a bad habit that I've got, but you know, you could try and have some ready. Very difficult knowing how much paint you're going to need of each colour. Once you get used to mixing, you'll find it easier just to mix as you go along as well, and you get used to which colours you like and things. So you can see there I've got some taller trees at each side, sort of bringing the picture in. Very, very basic, very simple. When you're doing grasses or leaves, trees, anything like that, get things going in different directions. Don't put them all uniform in one direction. Move your arm around, crisscross them. Look outside at some trees and things, see how varied they are, that they don't have all the branches going in one direction. And I think just to finish off, I'm going to go right the way along the bottom and make it solid all the way across the bottom. Just gives us that feel that it's really night time and we've got a real heavy shadow cast there behind these branches. And just use this paint up that's left in the palette here. So all the way up to that masking tape there. Okay, so that's very quick and simple, just with those three or four colours, but it gives quite a dramatic effect, and it's something that you could practice with using different colours in your sky, different times of day. So you might make it a little bit paler, you might make the sky even darker than that. If you wanted it more dramatic, you could go much darker at the top here. You could leave more white showing. So it's something as a beginner that you can have a little play with, do lots of nice skies on some smallish pieces of paper, and then put a nice silhouette over the top. And your silhouette doesn't have to be trees and branches. It could be a row of houses, it could be a bridge, it could be just a hill shape. Anything you want really. Just have a play around with it and try if you can to just do it out of your imagination rather than following a photograph, because you'll be surprised how much more individual it becomes and how much more life is in your painting just using what you know, looking out of the window rather than relying on photographs. Okay, so have fun with that and let me know how you get on, and I'll be back again soon with some more watercolour tutorials. Thanks for watching and bye for now.